Hello, my name is Stacy Duncan. I'm Executive Director of the Broome County Industrial Development Agency. It's my pleasure to host this informational recording for you on the Broome Technology Park, a sustainable economic future for Broome County. Before we begin, I want to make sure we are clear and transparent about the environmental review process and specifically the draft generic environmental impact statement we are talking about today. We are excited that after a lengthy deliberative review, we can share initial findings for how a conceptual Broome Technology Park can make a positive impact on our county and the steps that should be taken to minimize or mitigate impact on public services, infrastructure, and the environment. The release of the draft generic environmental impact statement, or DGEIS, does not mean that construction is starting. Instead, it marks the beginning of a careful review process where the environmental effects of the proposed project are studied and discussed before any work or development begins. This is just one step in a transparent and public process. Local town boards, along with planning and zoning boards, will be actively involved in reviewing and guiding the project as it moves forward. As you will hear during this recording and will see within the document we have prepared, our concept is not about clear cutting and leveling to build warehouses or other structures like you may see at other kinds of technology parks. We have been very intentional about analyzing how to build in harmony with the existing topography, land, and natural resources, such that based on our environmental review, we anticipate preserving approximately 77% of the natural space at this site while still attracting businesses that could create thousands of jobs and billions of economic input to benefit our local community. Our goal today is simple: to walk you through what we studied, what we found, and what comes next. Let me briefly outline what we will cover today. We'll talk about our vision for the Broome Technology Park, why we think a Broome Technology Park will be needed to support the region, why this area was selected, what the GEIS process is and what we studied. We'll offer a summary of a few of our key findings and what next steps will look like. Before I continue, I would like to acknowledge and thank the IDA Board of Directors for their time and investment in such an important effort, and also Empire State Development for their support and funding to support this very critical phase of this process. This marks a milestone moment in our study process. To reiterate very briefly, the purpose of the review we have undertaken is not to release our findings today to put a shovel in the ground tomorrow. State law allows for a generic environmental review process to aid in shovel readiness. The result of our analysis is the draft conceptual plan that we are publishing for review and comment. But again, today marks a milestone in our work to study, analyze, and develop a new large-scale economic development site, which has been the culmination of years of work to identify and assess viable locations. All future developments must abide by all permitting requirements, including local approvals. But let's talk about why we need the Broome Technology Park. Over the last decade, Broome County has lost jobs. We've seen population decline, and we know that our median age is rising. Another challenge is that our household income lags behind the state average. But across upstate New York, we're seeing an economic renaissance in the form of advanced manufacturing expansion, and we would like for Broome County to be part of that renaissance. One reason why we want to see this happen is to support the expansion of manufacturing in New York State, and also to support the growth of existing manufacturers in our region and stem outward migration. We also want to create opportunities for new private investment, especially job creation, to retain our young people now and in the future. Another critical goal is to attract industries that align with the dynamic research and development here at Binghamton University, which also align with priority sectors in New York State, including but not limited to advanced electronics, semiconductor supply chain, life sciences, and agricultural products. Now let's talk about the area we studied and selected and why. But before we even talk about this specific site, it's important to understand why we have to look at building new sites in the first place to remain competitive. I've fielded a number of questions from people in the community who have asked, why not just build on some of our former industrial vacant sites or reuse vacant properties? The answer is we're taking an all of the above approach. But what fits Company A's needs is not the same at what fits Company B's needs. And we're going to miss potentially transformational opportunities if we can't accommodate those who can both reuse legacy infrastructure and who need to build to their own specifications. After a lengthy process, we selected this site for various reasons. Its proximity to Interstates 81, 88, and 86, its proximity to the Greater Binghamton Airport, its existing infrastructure capacity, and also its growth areas designated in local comprehensive plans. Importantly, this site provides a unique visual buffering from the surrounding areas. Other potential sites we evaluated did not offer the same infrastructure readiness or scale. We also looked for a site that we could create a live, work, play environment that would include housing, green space, trails, bike paths, and amenities integrated into the design and working in harmony with the companies and private investment that we hope to attract. The size of the study area allows for flexibility, phased build out, and the integration of appropriate environmental buffers. A larger study area does not mean building everything all at once or developing all available land. In fact, our analysis is based on preserving, again, approximately 77% of the natural space on this site. It means development would be planned carefully over time, and it also means throwing away the old model of development and looking to a new model. I won't spend a lot of time on this slide, as community members will have an opportunity to look at this map more in depth in the draft GEIS. But what this shows in concept is what the site could look like over time. You'll see areas where we propose that businesses could locate their operations on site, but I also want to draw your attention to other development concepts. That includes in purple areas, community amenities. In the bottom right corner, you'll see concepts for housing development to make this a true live, work, play location. And spread throughout the amenities are things like walking trails, so both those who work and live on the site and others in the community can enjoy open space. We think this will be a differentiator in the new type of development we want to pursue. Again, I want to emphasize that as part of the GEIS process, we review a concept development, but ultimately we would work with prospective companies, local stakeholders on final designs to ensure that it meets our sustainable and community growth goals. More on the GEIS. What exactly is a GEIS? It is a comprehensive analysis that identifies potential adverse environmental impacts and also provides corresponding mitigation measures. It is intentionally broad and general in scope, and then evaluates potential impacts associated with a proposed project at a conceptual level. It also helps when you have larger, more complicated areas, and it is a useful tool for comprehensive long-term planning and implementation over a complex area over time. So a little bit about where we are in the continuum of this study process. As noted earlier, this has been the culmination of many years of work to identify and assess the site location and to spend time doing a very deep dive into all of the potential impacts of a project of this magnitude. We are here in this red box where we have prepared the draft generic environmental impact study and are ready to release that to the public. And this is the most important. This is the public phase of the process where you, the public, gets to review and comment on our findings. We will offer some important next steps and dates for you all at the end of this recording. As I noted, this is a very comprehensive study where, as you see on this screen, there were more than a dozen areas of study, including things like land use, community character, zoning, and public policy, things like natural resources, surface water resources and wetlands, energy and traffic and transportation, air quality, visual and noise quality, and also economic impact are some of the areas we've studied. If you review the DGEIS, you will find all of these studies in the back as part of the appendix. I wanted to comment on just the few of the areas where we have received the most questions. Here is a brief summary of our findings on some of those important areas. We'll begin with traffic and transportation, which has been one of the most highly anticipated questions that we expect to receive as we continue this process. As we've noted since the beginning, we anticipate primary access off Airport Road with secondary or minor volume access off of East Main Road, most likely for community access points. Airport Road and connected roads will have sufficient capacity to accommodate traffic loads in the initial development phases. Until 60% of the park is built, only minor road improvements are necessary, including a turning lane into the park and out of the park. Our visual analysis determined that most of the area, or approximately 92%, would not be seen. You would not be able to see the proposed structures, and only a small portion might be visible from certain parts of the community. On open space and wildlife, roughly, again, 77% of the total project site will remain preserved as open space and natural areas. Conceptual development is planned to work with the existing topography rather than significantly leveling the terrain. We completed an economic impact analysis for this project that looked at build out over a 20-year period of time. In that time, the project would support approximately 7,000 operational jobs and $690 million in corresponding earnings, and over $2.3 billion in economic activity in the 20 years we anticipate it would take to build out the site. And for the first 20 years, we expect there will be approximately 1,500 construction jobs each year. On community services, we know that a project of this scale will also increase demand on local services, including police, fire, and emergency services. But over a 40-year operational lifespan of the project, the total projected net tax revenues to Broome County, the towns of Maine and Union, and the Johnson City School District are estimated at approximately $800 million, covering any associated impacts. This results in a substantial net positive fiscal balance for all of the affected taxing jurisdictions. We're also exploring the development of a community benefit agreement, touching on priorities such as enhanced recreation, education, infrastructure, and any other priorities outlined by the community. In closing, this process is not about releasing a document one day and starting construction the next. It's about careful planning, and it's about understanding the long-term benefits. Everything you see on your screen is an example of the opportunity we want to capture through the development of the Broome Technology Park. We can grow family incomes and our tax base that is so important to funding those necessary public services. We can retain our young people and stem out-migration and demonstrating that opportunity doesn't have to mean moving away. We can support growth in housing and housing choices that fit people's needs and, importantly, their income levels. We can support small businesses by bringing in kinds of companies that need local vendors, but also attract the people who support restaurants, dry cleaners, retail shops, and a variety of other business types. And we can build with sustainable practices at the forefront, not as an afterthought. This vision is not a cookie-cutter industrial park. It is a campus-style environment designed intentionally and integrated with the natural environment. So our ask as you review the DGEIS is to keep an open mind on how this development can seize all opportunities outlined here. We are preparing this GEIS, the DGEIS, to ensure that if development occurs, it happens under clear environmental standards with mitigation measures in place and continued public oversight. But there are still multiple steps ahead. To locate the DGEIS document, please go to the Tech Park website at broometechpark.com or the agency website at theagency-ny.com. We will also make hard copies available for viewing at your home public library in Johnson City and the George F. Johnson Memorial Library in Endicott. Comments can be provided in a multitude of ways. You can provide written comments to the agency, Broome County IDA LDC, at 5 South College Drive, Binghamton, New York, 13905. Please add attention DGEIS comments in the address block. You can also submit comments electronically at techpark@theagency-ny.com. We expect to close the public comment period on April 26, 2026. We will also be offering a public hearing on April 16th, 2026 at the Johnson City High School auditorium beginning at 6 p.m. More details can be found at broometechpark.com. Thank you for taking the time to view this informational recording on the Broome Tech Park. We hope that you'll consider following the project on broometechpark.com. Please consider offering comments on the DGEIS document, or you can join our email list by going to broometechpark.com and hitting the Join Our Email List button. Thank you, and we look forward to building a sustainable future for Broome County together.